Well, welcome to Fight Night on talkSPORT. I'm Gareth A. Davis. A very, very busy day from midday onwards for all of us involved in the sport. Dillian Whyte revealed by Eddie Hearn through a tweet and through a matchroom boxing statement earlier today that he is out of the fight. An adverse finding in a VADA test, voluntary anti-doping association test. They are scrambling. 258 management, Freddie Cunningham, Eddie Hearn, Frank Smith, all the guys at Matchroom scrambling to find the right opponent for Anthony Joshua to keep the event alive next week. Thousands of fans have bought tickets. Thousands of fans have booked hotels. I've already run into people on the way in here tonight saying we're so disappointed. What do we do? People have been mentioning on the interweb tonight, on Twitter sphere, on Instagram, how disappointed they are. Is boxing shooting itself in the foot again? We're going to pick the bones of that out today, Spencer. It's a very, very bad situation for boxing again, a bad look.
Yeah, terrible situation again for boxing. You know, this puts a real dark cloud over the sport again here with Dillian Whyte, failing these tests. It's a real sad situation. I feel sorry for Anthony Joshua, who's, trying to rebuild his career, worked really hard. He took a fight that we all knew was a dangerous fight, actually, going over old ground with Dillian Whyte and putting it all on the line, with what he had in front of him with this fight, this potential fight with Deontay Wilder, talking about Saudi Arabia in January. He could have waited for that. He stepped up for this Dillian Whyte fight, and now this has happened. Feel sorry for Anthony Joshua. I feel sorry for the fans, the people that have booked the hotels, the people that have booked the tickets, and I hope they can resolve this and they can find a credible opponent for Anthony Joshua.
Well, both of us have been talking to everyone involved behind the scenes throughout the afternoon. Frank Smith, and Eddie Hearn battling away to try and find an opponent for Anthony Joshua. We're going to talk about the potential opponents in a little while. You, I know, have spoken to Anthony Joshua in the background this afternoon. You've had words with him about things. I understand from you, and I understand from his management team, he's very keen to still have a fight next Saturday night.
Absolutely. Anthony Joshua has worked very hard to get to where he's got to. He wants to, he's on that rebuilding process. He's in that twilight of his career, really, and this was a big part of the jigsaw puzzle, regaining that confidence in his own ability. Dillian Whyte was the perfect opponent to bring the best out in Anthony Joshua. He's pumped up for it. He took himself off over to Dallas, training with Derek James, and really putting in the hard graft. He wants it. He's now ready. The training's done. The hard work has been done, and this has happened. I feel really sorry for him, for his team, who've worked so hard to get to this point, and I hope they get it resolved. I think they will get it resolved, if I'm totally honest. For the people that are confused about this show has not been cancelled. The fight has been cancelled.
Absolutely,
the show
right.
has not been cancelled, because I had a lot of people coming in as well saying to me, what a shame, the show's off. The show is not off as we speak. They're trying to find a credible opponent for Anthony Joshua, and I believe they'll do that.
Well, Eddie Hearn says he wants to get it done in the next 24 hours. That's what he's told me. Frank Smith has said the same. Freddie Cunningham has told me that they are doing everything and they will consider all options. As you say, our guy AJ wants to have his fight. Well, this is how it broke about 1 o'clock today. Eddie Hearn revealed that Whyte had returned adverse analytical findings as part of a random anti-doping protocol. The statement came out from Matchroom Boxing today. The Voluntary Anti-Doping Association, VADA, informed Matchroom, the Association of Boxing Commissions, that's the commissions in America, and the British Boxing Board of Control, that Dillian Whyte had returned adverse analytical findings as part of a random anti-doping protocol. In light of this news, the fight will be cancelled, as you say, not the event, and a full investigation will be conducted. Further information on the event will follow. Then, of course, it exploded. It wasn't that much longer, maybe a couple of hours, till we heard a statement from Dillian Whyte. He's desperately, of course, upset about what has happened. What's your take, first of all, on Dillian Whyte's situation before I read out his statement?
Disappointed, very disappointed that he's, this has happened. We don't know the ins and outs of it because, like you say, Gareth, we've heard that he has failed the VADA testing. That is what we do know. But what we don't know is what the failings are, etc., etc. So it's difficult for us to comment on it as we speak at the moment. But all I can say is there's one word for this: disappointment. You know, with what's been going on and the collapse of all these big heavyweight fights and all the other fights that we're seeing, you know, materialising, like that unbelievable fight we had last week involving Errol Spence, you know, and Terence Crawford
and Noya Inoue and Stephen Fulton.
Yeah, absolutely. And even going
we'll go into that in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Even going back Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis, these guys are showing the way, and the best are fighting the best, and the heavyweights just don't seem to be getting it over the line. We felt like we was getting somewhere. And there's just one word from me: disappointment, huge disappointment. And I'm interested to see how this unfolds and find out exactly, you know, what has happened here with Dillian Whyte.
I do agree with you. You know, we've just witnessed two modern masters at work in Noya Inoue, the brilliant Japanese fighter who's become an unbeaten champion in 4 weight divisions, and Terence Crawford, who you commented on brilliantly last week during the night, who put in a stellar performance, a masterclass of near perfection against Errol Spence in Las Vegas. So much so, actually, that old-time commentators reckoned the new welterweight and pound-for-pound king might have beaten Sugar Ray Leonard. And I've even been saying this week, having watched Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s career, he may even have beaten Floyd Mayweather at welterweight. But back to the heavyweights. Let's just examine this statement from Dillian Whyte that came out later. As you say, we do not know publicly, and I don't even know privately, I've been trying to get it out of people, what the adverse finding was. We will know in the next 48 hours, I'm sure. His statement was he was shocked and devastated to learn of a report by VADA of adverse findings related to himself. He learnt about it this morning. He's still reacting to it. He's seen that the fight's being cancelled, and he's claiming he hasn't had a chance to demonstrate his innocence before the decision was taken. He says, I can confirm without a shadow of a doubt, I've not taken the reported substance in this camp or at any point in my life. I'm completely innocent and asked to be given the time to go through the process of proving this without anybody jumping to conclusions or a trial by media. I insisted on 24/7 VADA testing for this fight, as I've done voluntarily and at my own expense for all of my fights for many, many years. It's not the first time that I've been reported as having an adverse finding for a substance, which I've not taken. And as I did last time, I will again prove that I'm completely innocent. That was 2019, the Oscar Rivas test, when the metabolites were small enough that he was exonerated by the anti-doping panel. In the meantime, all I can do is express my extreme disappointment to boxing fans who will miss out on what was sure to be a great event. Only stupidity would allow someone to take a substance in these greatest fights of their lives. It's inexplicable in lots of ways.
Totally agree with that. You know, we had Dillian Whyte on talkSPORT actually when he was trying to get this fight over the line, and it was all about the money, what sort of money he was going to get. You know, we pushed for that to get Dillian the right sort of deal without the rematch clauses and etc., etc. Eddie Hearn accepted that. Anthony Joshua accepted that. They've got the fight over the line, and now this has happened. And you got to remember this, right? So Dillian Whyte at this stage of his career, if he can't prove his innocence on this, his career over. It's done. You know, so stupidity is being kind, if I'm totally honest. You know, so. Like
but it's inexplicable that someone would do this.
That's why
when Jarrell Miller was fighting Anthony Joshua in New York, it was the biggest payday of his career by 12 times. And it just does not make sense.
Doesn't make sense. And what we've got to do, Gareth, like you said, you know, that nobody knows what the substance was, and until we know what the substance was, we can't really comment. So, you know, all I can say is that's all I can do is express disappointment that he has failed these tests on these adverse findings in whatever it was. And I'm very, very, very disappointed for him.
Before we go to break, and after the break, we're going to talk about who Anthony Joshua maybe could, would, or even should fight now next Saturday night. And we'll pick the bones over that because there are a lot of other heavyweights on this card already. Just wanted to ask you, in these situations, you're around fighters all the time. Have you ever been party to dissuading anyone or witnessed these kind of things going on where you know someone is heading in the wrong direction?
No. No, and this was the disappointment for me. I think anybody that knows me, and especially to our listeners on here as well, you know how strong I am against drugs within the sport. You know, I know the dangers of the sport. You know, the serious injuries can happen. Even the loss of lives can happen. So I just want a level playing field. People know my strengths on that. You know, with what I've been through, so I'm very, very strong on it. And if I would have known about anybody taking drugs, or if it's just not acceptable. Yeah. I just don't have it. You know how I feel about it, Gareth. I just think that someone's found taking drugs within our sport. I don't believe in second chances and all that. You know, I'm that strong on it. I just think that it's wrong. I think there should be life bans and less people would do it, because we're getting too many people doing it right now, and it's disappointing.